everyone, I'm Jill.
I'm Alice.
And this is
Waterfront Wednesdays,
brought to you by
Boston Harbor Now. Have you ever thought about the childhood experiences that shaped you into becoming Harbor Horwood?
All the time. So you all know, but maybe people at home don't know, that I was born on an island, a really big island, Cuba, and I lived all of my life in coastal cities, Miami, Chicago, Boston, and now I live in Rhode Island. But a fond memory that I have as a child is playing pretend on the balcony of our Havana apartment that had a direct sightline to the Malecón, or the waterfront. So all of my fantasies and pretend stories always had some element of the water. What about you?
Well, I confirmed with my parents that in fact both of my grandfathers had sailboats when I was born, so I think I was put on boats at a very small age. And we've lived in a lot of landlocked places, a few waterfront ones too, but even when I'm in a landlocked place, I have a lot of water connection, whether that was through swimming or kayaking or sailing. I lived in Ethiopia and I managed to go sailing there.
And that is a really common story, right? People that work in the port or maritime industry or the fishing industry, they have some kind of a childhood connection to the water.
And that's true throughout Boston's history. So someone like Captain Robert Bennett Forbes, back in 1811, at the age of 6, he goes with his family on a boat trip from Boston to France, and then goes on to become this really famous ship captain. He invents topsail rigging, he's a leader in the China trade, he sets records for sailing across the Atlantic at top speeds, all because of that childhood experience.
Right. So on top of all of the kids who have been exposed to the wharves of downtown, there were also the harbor islands. Like there was an actual school out on the islands.
Right, but over time, as Boston's harbor got dirtier and the different kinds of industry centers for Boston moved inland, people just lost that connection to the harbor.
That's right, and that's why Boston Harbor Now and partners make such a concerted effort to connect teens and children with the water.
Absolutely, and this includes everything from really intentional workforce development to just general exposure to the harbor and the islands.
So let's talk about some of those general, right? So all summer long, there are daily family-oriented programs at the Boston Harbor Islands, at DCR beaches, Spectacle Island, George's Island. There are tours directed towards youth on Fort Warren. You can explore marine life with the New England Aquarium, junior ranger programs, kite flying, and so much more.
Right, and parents and caregivers, whether they bring children, down to the Harbor Walk, to the Welcome Center, or out to the islands, they have that opportunity on a daily basis. They can take advantage, too, of our Library Pass program, where you can get discounted access out to the park.
And before you even get to the water, you can have an island park ranger visit a Boston Public Library and introduce the children to the islands.
Yep. For some kids, it's part of just one magical day. Boston Harbor Now provides over 14,000 individuals from more than 250 community groups and community organizations with access to the park through the Island Pass program.
We should also mention that Save the Harbor, Save the Bay has a similar program.
Yep. And then there are kids who get to spend more time, like the Harbor Discovery Camp program, where there's a ranger who does classroom activities for 2 days in a given week, but the other 3 days are spent exploring different harbor islands.
Right. And you can spend even longer, right? There's the 5-week program of Thompson Island Outward Bound Camp, and then you can also do Camp Harborview on Long Island.
And Thompson Island's a great example of a place where there used to be a school, and I meet people who had that childhood experience, and they always have amazing harbor stories to share with me.
That's right. And then there are other ways to spend your summer out on the water, right? You can go sailing at Pierce Park Sailing in East Boston or Courageous Sailing in Charlestown.
Yep, great organizations.
That's right.
And then there are explicit workforce development that goes one step farther, that says how do you get into a career in something related to water.
And that is something that I consistently heard when I was interviewing folks for the Working Port white paper, right? Parents really want their children to have a connection to maritime schools. And they always pointed to the New York Harbor School as a really great example. And they want something like that in Boston Harbor.
Yep, one thing that's sort of a piece of that, not all the way, but it's starting to get there, is something called the Place Fellowship. So it's a program that works with teens in the fall on weekends, and it exposes them to different kinds of careers, from being a park ranger to a marine biologist to doing wastewater treatment out at the Deer Island plant.
And there are even other programs, right? Like the Hill to Harbor that connects Conservation Corps teen leaders with park rangers as they explore National Park from Bunker Hill to Navy Yard to Spectacle.
Yep, and then there's Boston Harbor Now. We offer summer internships and some year-round internships in programming on our community access team, our communications team, as well as our policy and planning team.
So if you have a young person in your life, or you are a young person, we hope that you'll take advantage of all the ways that you can get involved in the harbor. The best place to get started is by visiting bostonharborislands.org, and check out some of the opportunities for free access, volunteering, or youth employment.
Yep, it could take you down a career path that gets you out on the water on a regular basis, or just build up a sense of ownership for the incredible natural assets that can be found along Boston Harbor and on the islands.
So thanks for tuning in. I'm Jill Valdez Horwood.
I'm Alice Brown.
Check us out at Harbor Horwood.
At Fairy Fairy.
And if you like this video, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, throw us a like,
or leave a comment below. Tell us about an amazing youth program you were a part of, about a childhood experience that connected you to the water, or give us an idea for a future episode. We'll see you at a youth program.